Hello, everybody. Let's start the second part of the first lecture. The part 1.2 shift spaces and following our reference. It's about we want to talk about shift spaces. Okay, but let's start with one motivation example. As we know already, the symbol sequences we will be study are often subject to constraints. For example, Morse code uses the symbols dot, dash, and pause. The ordinary alphabet is transmitted using block of dots and dashes with the length at most 6 separate by a pause, so that any block of length at least 7 which contains no pause is forbidden to occur. The only exception is the SOS signal. For example, in the programming right now, no, I don't know, maybe nobody works with uh, Pascal, programming language Pascal, but anyway, in the programming language Pascal, a program line such as for example, sine of x a star 2 we assign equal to y actually is not allowed, nor are lines with unbalanced parentheses, since they violate Pascal syntax rules. Okay, but let's go to some motivational example about Morse code. I put here the picture of that. Okay, you can see the motivation example. Instead of a, we use, for example, point and dash, dot and dash, and here, for example, for b, and dash, dot, 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 and so on. Okay. Okay, let's go to one basic definition. If x is side of if x inside of the full A shift and W is a block over A, W is a one word, we can say that, for example, W is inside of the, as we know that we are familiar already with this notation, and over this alphabet, we will say that W occurs in the X if there are indices I and J, so that let's follow the formula. Okay, as you can see, it means the word W or black W, it would be some part of one part of consequence letter of point X. For example, if we have one point like 1.10, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on, here is point, and here 2, 1, and so on. If we cut from here to here, we have one block. So it means, for example, here W is equal to X. If you cut from the letter -1 to letter 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So it is one small definition. Okay. And remark, note that the empty block epsilon occurs in every point in a full shift. Why? What is the reason of that? Let's suppose you consider that in this form. Let's suppose let my no, just a moment. Right, nice pair. Okay, let's suppose I consider that epsilon, it would be like index of the first, it should be bigger than second. So here you produce, or any other indexes such that I bigger, strictly bigger than j. So you can produce uh, epsilon, empty mode. Okay, let's go to another definition, forbidden blocks. Okay, let F be a collection of blocks over A, which we will think of as a beginning forbidden block. Let's, for example, like F would be a subset of A star. Then for any such F, we define X F to be a subset of sequences in full full shift which do not contain any block in F. What does it mean? Actually, it means if you have, for example, XF, it's subset of A, Z, such that any word inside of the F will not occur inside of the each point in this actually in this set. For example, we will see later, but for example, if our alphabet is 0 and 1 and F is 1, so X F, it means any point like X inside of the A, Z, or if I want to write with more detail, for example, 0 and 1, this binary shift, full shift, such that X is equal to, for example, X minus 1, X 0, X1, and so on. X k is not equal to 1 for k belong to Z. It means every word has this, because one letter also is like one word, okay, with length of 1. Okay, you need to delete all of the word, all of the point, and one is as a one is occur inside of them. Okay, so it's one example. Let's talk about some more example. And the collection of F may be finite or infinite. In any case, at most countable. What does it mean at most countable? At most countable, it means it would be finite, or if would be will not, if it will not finite, okay, it should be countable. Okay, how we can consider and dealing with this concept? For example, here, let's I write some things here. For example, here, first of all, we put some W. the listing W, for example, W1, W2, W3, and you put 1 here, and so on, and such that the length of this Wi is equal to 1. And here W2, sorry, W1, 2, W2, 2, W3, 2, and so on, such that the length of Wi2 is equal to 2. For I is equal to 1, 2, and so on, and you can see here, and you continue this procedure, it means you like counting this number of the word or block inside of the F. That's why we can say that they are at most countable and you count them. It's like the procedure you count the number of the rational numbers. So let's go to the next slide. Okay, what about the definition of the shift space? Another elementary example. Okay, a shift space, or simply shift, is a subset of X of full shift AZ such that X is equal to XF for some collection F of forbidden block or word over A. So we say that X is a actually shift space. Anyway, yeah, let's go to the, we will see some more example. And one thing, when a shift space X is contained in a shift space Y, we say that X is shift subshift of Y. It's something like that. Here you have Y, and here you have, for example, X. Before I talk about very simple example, that I introduce you one interesting property about shift space and forbidden blocks. I will give you as an exercise in your seminar. Let's suppose we have, for example, two forbidden blocks like F1 and F2. Then we can say that the shift space XF1 is reversed. Okay, so here let's suppose you need to prove that as an exercise in your seminar, but here let's suppose, for example, F1 it's 1 1 and F2 it's for example 1 and 1 1. Okay, so it is trivial. F1 is subset of F2, and here we consider that XF1 it's equal to Y, and XF2 consider that as X. So you can see that the shift space here, it would be subset of the shift space whole of the space. I mean, X is would be subshift of Y. So it's a simple example. Okay, but let's explain about and talk about some example. Example 1. Let, for example, F is all of the or alphabet. It means we consider that actually you delete all of the uh, word with length of A. Actually, we can say that if it is basic things I want to review for you, the block W or word W inside of the A, if and only if uh, the length of that is equal. I mean, the length of alphabet is considered as a, okay? So, okay. So it means inside of the full shift, we delete all of the letters. For example, if A is, for example, it's 0 and 1, we delete all of the letter from your point. So delete this, delete this. You don't have anything, nothing will be remain for you. So then in this condition, x f, it should be equal to empty. So empty, it's also shift space. Empty is a shift space. Okay, so it's one example. Let's talk about another example. Second example. They are like trivial example. Let's suppose f is equal to empty. It means you don't delete anything from your space. Okay, so it means you have your points and you will not delete anything from the point from your full A shift. Okay, so it means f in this case it should be equal to A full shift. Okay, so it means that all of the by infinite word or by infinite sequence over your alphabet is also a shift space. So is again a shift space. So we have two trivial shift space over alphabet, one alphabet. One of them empty, one of them whole of the full shift. So let's go to another example. Okay, golden mean shift. And actually, we consider that our alphabet is 0 and 1, and the forbidden block it's 1 1. It means you don't have any consequence 1. It's like Fibonacci was, but here you have a by infinite. Your sequence is by infinite in two direction. So Fibonacci word it's the finite sequence, but you have also we have some Fibonacci sequence anyway. It means that's why it's related to golden mean shift. It means in your point, if x is inside of the AZ, it means binary shift, full shift. So you don't have such disguise inside of the XF. Okay, so and we know that XF it would be here, it would be subset of 0 and 1, and you don't have such this point if X inside of the disguise would be, for example, 0 0 1 point 0 1 0 0 0 1 0 0. You can see here you don't have a two consequence 1, but for example this is the point of the floating points separate the negative and non-negative indexes indices. So but for example if x it would be like this, 0.1100. It would be inside of this guy, a binary full shift space, binary full shift space, but it's not inside of the XF here. It's not the golden shift. So it is another example. Later we will discuss about this more later. So let's talk about another example. Event shift. Okay. Let's this in this example again our alphabet is 0 and 1, and if it's we consider that here it is wrong, I need to put 1 here, sorry, the slide is, I need to make a correct my slide, I need to put 1 here, it means between we don't need such block if between 2 1 we have odd number of 0. So for example, we don't have such this block inside of the or point. For example, this guy, we have 1 0. Here we have 2 0. It's okay. But here we don't need such, sorry. Here we have again 3. So again, it is inside of the F. Okay, it's inside of the F. It is inside of the F. And you can see here, it is the F here is countable. It's not finite. So also it was 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, here you have 5. So you can make a list. It's the cardinality of F, it's equal to the cardinality of odd number. So it means you have X, it would be inside of the XF, and XF is subset of the A full binary full shift like this. But for example, one of the example of X, it's 0, 0, 0.11, for example. Here we don't have a 0 between two consequence form. So it's 0 is even. Or for example, X is equal to 0, 0, 1, 0, for example, 0, 1, so on. Here you have, for example, between two consequence, one you have the number of 0, it is even. So that's why we say that it's even shift, because we have the number of the 0 between two consequence, 1, it should be equal to an even numbers. Okay, so it's another interesting example. Let's go to second example. Okay, run the limit shift. Okay. Okay, example 5. Again, our alphabet is binary alphabet. Okay, and consider that. Let's consider X. Let's consider that X should be equal to the set of all binary sequences for which ones occur infinitely often infinitely often in each direction. In each direction, and such that the number of zeros between successive occurrences of a one is either one, two, or three. Okay, it's this actually the application of this data, this shift is used for common data storage method for hard disk drives. Maybe we will future be a little bit talk about them. So it means let's a little bit discuss about such this point inside of the X. Actually, for example, let's suppose X inside of the X. Let's suppose it would be like inside of that, for example, roughly speaking, we need to bit number of the zero between two consequence one, it would be one, for example, or for example 2 or 3 and so on. Okay, and but it doesn't matter what about going on with zeros. For example, you have many zero here, but if you have one, one comes here between. So here, for example, it is impossible because you have 2 1, okay, and here it's 1 1, another one here, and between them and between two consequence one, you need to have, for example, 1 2 or 3. So if you have, for example, put 0 here, you should put 1 here. Okay, so that's it. So maybe it would be interesting to count the number of, for example, or finite or anyway. Let's generalize this concept. Actually, we denoted this x shortly with this notation, x of 1 and 3. It means the number of the 0 between two consequence 1, it should be minimum 1 and maximum 3. So it, for example, is impossible. You have 0, number of the 0, it should be 0 between two consequence 1. Also, it's impossible you have this. I mean, you have 4 0 between two consequence. We have only these 3 cases. This guy, and this guy. Okay, so in general cases, we have this notation with notation about is related to run length limited shift, we say that actually, uh, let's suppose d is less than equal to k, and x dk, it means it's defined by constraints that defined defined by the constraints that once occur infinitely often in each direction, and at least there are at least b zeros, but no more than k zeros. Okay, between uh, between succeed one succeed ones. Okay, so it is the one notation, and actually, so we can say that, for example, in previous example, uh, golden mean shift, uh, golden mean shift actually we can denote it by the number of the zero. Okay, as let's left as an exercise to check that. I mean, how we can denote golden mean? Maybe in the near future we generalize this notation. How we can, for example, golden mean shift can be denoted by this notation. Okay, so let's go to another example. Escape shift. Okay, let's suppose we have binary alphabet, and we want to discuss about what is the OR shift construction of OR shift space. So let me start by one example. Let's we need, for example, such this point in OR shift space. Between two successive one, we need arbitrary number of the zero. Okay, for example, here we need, for example, 3 0, or for example, here we need, for example, 4 0, and here, for example, we need 1 0, and here we need, for example, 5 0, and so on. We need to number arbitrary number of the zero. Oops, I write in Persian, isn't it? Okay, so that's it. So I want to generalize in more general. I want to generalize and the previous shift spaces. So I mean, in general case, we can write like this way. For example, one point it would be like this: x 10. We have, for example, n over minus 1, number of the 0, and for example number of the 0 here, it should be, for example, n0, and the number of the between the next ones, it should be n minus 1, and the number of the, it would be like this. Okay, so let's consider that here s, I mean s, it would be non some empty subset of non-empty subset of 0, 1, 2, and so on. And we denoted x, I want to generalize previous shift, and we denote x s as a all, and just a moment, I change my color. All binary sequence, and also you need to consider that S is a finite set. So define the set of all binary sequences, all binary sequences, all binary sequences for which ones occur infinitely often, each direction, and such number of zeros between successive one, it's better I write in this way, occurrences of a one is an integer in S. So for example, here in this example, we can say that nj inside of the S. Okay, so as a one special case of, for example, run shift, just a moment, run length limit shift, we can say that x dk is equal to x s. When you define s, because you say that it's the minimum number of the 0 between two successive 1, it should be d, also d plus 1 till k. So you can also denote with this notation. So here we say that it's s gap, shift, and you can also talk about the golden mean shift also. Here it was the another notion of round, length, limited, shift. Also, we can discuss about golden mean shift. Let I write by another color. Golden mean shift. How we can discuss about that? Let's suppose how we can discuss. We need to the number of between if we consider that the number of 0 between two consequence and 1, it should be 1 or 2 or 3 and so on. Because we don't need in golden mean shift, we don't have such disguise. So here the number of the 0 between two succeed 1, it should be equal to 0. So that's why we don't need here. So in the golden mean shift, the if we consider that it would be equal to natural number or 1, 2, 3 and so on. Also full to shift also is another that I write here. Also two full to shift, full to shift. It's also another escape shift. It's another example of escape shift. When you consider that 1, 0, 1, 2, and so on. So here another example in this case. Okay, we can say that also even shift also we can discuss about even shift also. Even shift, even shift, even shift. If you consider that as a 0, 2, 4, and so on, the number of the 0 between two succeed 1, it should be even number. Also, we have another interesting actually shift. We can say that prime gap shift, prime gap shift. We can say that when s is equal to prime number 2, 3, and 5, 7, and so on. So that's it. We have such this example. So let's go to discuss about another example. Okay, shift of finite type. Okay, another important example, shift of finite type. Example 7. Let's consider that our alphabet is E, F, G, and F forbidden block E, G, F, E, F, F, and G, G. It means we define the X in this way. Actually, X of F, it would be equal to the point X inside of the A full shift, I mean E, F, G, Z, E such that E can be followed only by E or F. F can be followed only by G, okay, and G can be followed only by E or F. Let's I a little bit change the colors. E, E and F, and F with G, and G can be E and F. Anyway, it's somehow we show with the with one graph, and but later we will discuss about that how it's going on with this graph. Let's have two nodes and E after E, so it means this guy, and after E also can be followed by F. So F. Also, we can say that F can be also followed by G after F can be going by G, and also after G can be going by E and also by F. So we can use by this notation. This is shift of finite type. Okay, let's go to another. And actually, a point in this space is then just a by infinite path on in this graph. Okay, and let's highlight this. It's important for us. The point, a point in this space, in this space is then just a by infinite path on the graph. Okay, so that's it. Let's go to another example. Context-free shift also is important. Let's suppose all alphabet is A, B, C, and so we can say that or shift, it would be like A, B, C power Z, and so that the block with this form may occur in the point only that such this block A, B, M, C, K, A, and you have such this word inside of your point inside of the X, some point inside of your full shift, E only if M it should be equal to K. So, for example, the value it would be equal to A, B, C, A between two successive A, or W, it should be equal to, let's say, write with another color. W, it's A, B, A. We don't have, because the number of the B, it should be equal to number of the C. So we don't need this guy. And W is equal to A, A. It's okay because the number of the B and C here is 0, is equal. And W is equal to A, B, B, C, A. We don't need also this guy, and so on. So it's another example. As an exercise, can you discuss about what is the F? Okay. So let's go to next slide. Shift invariant. What does it mean, shift invariant? It means the constraints on point are given in the term of forbidden blocks alone and do not involve the coordinate at which a block might be forbidden. It means if we say that we don't need, for example, F, it's for example only this block, I mean golden mean shift, we don't say to you in which position and which coordinate you don't have this guys. All of them coordinate, you shouldn't have this guys. For example, maybe here, I mean in the position 0 and 1, and or maybe it would be, for example, here the position 2 and 3, and so on. Okay, so that's why do not involve the coordinate in the definition. So that's for the if x inside of the or shift space, then we can say that its shift also it's inside of the this point, also inside of the this guy, and also this guy, this would be inside of the this guy. So it means this guy, again it should be inside of this guy, and also this guy is also inside of the or space. So because it's shift map is a one function and correspond, if you put one point inside of that output, also it would be another point. So that's why in general we can say that actually shift of whole space, it would be equal to this guy. That's it. So this is important for us. Another, the shift map on X is restriction to X on the shift map to full shift. Okay, so actually it's better I denote it by this notation. So it means actually the full shift it's and the shift map is from full shift to A full shift, and you know that, for example, xi is equal to just a moment, yi is equal to xi plus 1, something like that. So let me write better because here maybe you missed it. It's this I plus 1. So the index should be changing. So that's it. And it means we can restrict because we know that and we can restrict the function from the one subset of the domain. For example, you know that from fundamental mathematics, if we have one function from A to B, and for example, x it's the or x to x to y, and here it's x, here is y, and here a is a here as a subset of the x, you can restrict your function to a, I mean from a to y. Okay, so here also we know that x is a subset of az, so that's why we can restrict from this shift from uh, x to az, and we know that from here shift of x f it's equal to, or x, it doesn't matter, it's equal to x. That's why here we can write, instead of this guy, can write x. So we restrict this function and this map to the this shift space. So let's go. Okay, right now we want to discuss about two counterexample. Two example is not a shift space. I mean singleton. If we consider that one point, I mean if for example x is would be equal to this point 0 1 0 1 and point 0 1 0 1 and so on, I mean it's equal to this guy. So if you act shift map, so this guy, it's 1 point shifting to the, so it means you have, so this guy is inside of the x and you have one singleton point. So in this situation, this guys, it would be like just a moment. It would be one guys go to the left, so you have for example 0 1 0 1 and so on, and here 1 0, and here you have 1 and 0, this guy. So here is not inside of the x. So if first of all one as a one criterion, so it is not a shift space, it is not a shift space. So first criterion, you need to check that, assign the shift map inside of your point. If the shift of each point is not belong to your shift space, then you can see, if in your space, then you can claim that my space is not a shift space. Okay, so actually let's go to another example. So let's suppose a is again 0 and 1, and x is the set of the point each which contain exactly one symbol 1 and other, the rest it should be equal to 0. I mean the x, it should be subset actually this full shift. So actually clearly x is a shift invariant. Clearly x is shift invariant. Okay, it means sigma x, it would be equal to x. That's it. So, but if, let's I write for you, if x were a shift space, Then no block of zeros could be forbidden. Okay, but for example, this point, I mean 0, 0, 0 would be necessarily belong to X. Okay, but it is not. Okay, so the set X lack the closure necessary for the shift space. So can say that the second example, the set X lacks the closure necessary oops, necessary for a shift space. Okay, so that's it. So it means let me write if you want to write some things because it will be so. So it means if you want to check first of all, and that's why here we can say that this is not a shift space. This is not this is not a shift space. So if you want to check that one space is a shift space, first of all, you need to check that shift invariant. It is shift invariant or not. Then check the closure property of that. Okay, like as we check that in the second example. Okay, that's it. Let's wait for Ivan lecture. He will explain for us some interesting things. Okay, see you.